Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Nazrani Voice. We have two wonderful guests, Meghana and Lenex, here with us today. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves in just a second. Uh, this is part of a series that we're doing where we're just talking to some of the other eparchies that we have around the world. So we'll be talking to people from Great Britain, Australia, maybe a few other places, who knows. But today we have our lovely neighbors from the north. I hope that's not offensive. Canada. Eparchy of Mississauga, right? That's the formal title? Okay, cool. It's always interesting because we can't call it the Eparchy of America because we're based in Chicago. But people always just get really like confused when I say that I belong to a diocese in Chicago because I have never lived in Chicago or like seriously like long term attended a church there. So it's just like I always find it really funny. And then Mississauga as well, right? That's not is that where a majority of Syro folks are in the eparchy?
Yeah, that's where most of the parishes are. Yeah, you're right. In Canada, most of the parishes are towards the east.
Are in the eparchy
That's
or in the
west
Mississauga
side.
area.
Yes,
Got it.
we're more off on the west side.
Perfect. Well, I'll ask you to introduce yourselves before I start jumping into any more questions. Meghna, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Meghna. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, in Canada, from the St. Mother Teresa Syro-Malabar Parish. Um, I am currently in my undergraduate degree studying biomedical sciences.
Cool.
My
Lennox.
name my name's Lennox. I'm 22 years old. I just finished my nursing degree. I am currently working as an RN. I live in Edmonton, Alberta. We I'm the current spiritual coordinator, one of the spiritual coordinators of our SMYM national group, and Magnus the current general coordinator. So she's our boss in a way. So she tells us what to do. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's it. I work as an RN. I live in Edmonton. That's it. That's yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. I love that you started off just by calling her your boss. It'll make for a very not awkward interview. Just really sets the tone for the rest of the conversation. Okay, cool. Good to know. So you're both from the same. It's okay. I don't know anything about Canadian geography. It's provinces, right? Is that like the equivalent of like states in the US? Like, is that the best way to understand it?
Yeah, I think so. Right, Magna?
Yeah. The provinces are the states of Canada. Yeah.
Okay, cool. This is going to be like the entire time just me asking Canada questions. I mean, we're not like at this point, the eparchy stuff will end up coming later and it'll just be a bunch of Canada trivia. Okay, so across these different provinces, the eparchy of Mississauga covers all of Canada, right? So, how many do you know, like roughly how many churches there are total, or no?
I was looking at a document earlier. I don't know how old this document is, but approximately we have close to 22, 20 parishes, 32 mission centers, and 14 Holy Kurbana centers. So close to 66. That I don't know again.
Okay,
I don't
wow.
know how old this document is, but that's around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. That's actually yeah, that's huge. Cool. And because you, when was the eparchy founded again? This is
Officially,
2000.
officially, I
Yeah.
think Eparchy, we got the title Eparchy in 2018.
Okay. Nice. Wow. And already at like basically 60 different places where there's Kurbana or like Syro-Malabar communities.
Yeah.
That's really rapid growth. That's really cool. Nice.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. We
Also, yeah.
used to be an eparchate before that.
Mhm.
And just for like, I guess, linguistic terms, an eparchy would be kind of the same thing as a diocese, right? And then
Yeah.
an eparchate would be just kind of, we're just starting up, we're getting things together, the foundational basis of things, and then I think finally we'll be established as an eparchy. So yeah, Lennox kind of gave that to you. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, and so what were your experiences like, moving away from like the history side of it? Like what were your experiences like growing up in the Eparchy? Do you remember like vaguely when you started going to Syro Malabar churches and like when the Qurbana became a part of your like average weekly experience?
Lennox, I
Lennox.
think
Sure.
you
Yeah.
might have more experience in that. So, yeah, do you
Yeah,
want
I
to
can
start
go
off?
first. I mean, I've never really left the Syro Malabar Church. I came in grade 4. So there was already a Syro-Malabar community happening here. There was already a Syro-Malabar community here, and we would have Sunday mass and all. So we would just go there for Sunday mass, attend the Malayalam Kurbana, and it was just a normal part of my life. I never felt as if I was joining this brand new thing that I've never been in before. It was a part of my life already. Yeah. It,
Nice.
Yeah. I think for me it's quite different because I guess I wasn't like born into the church. So I came to Canada with my parents when I was around 6 years old. And just because of a lot of circumstances, we ended up actually attending the Roman Rite for a bit, like, the Roman Rite of the Catholic Church. And so a lot of my, I guess, childhood was in those churches. And then right around when I reached middle school, so like grade 7, is when I started attending the Syro church because my parents were like, okay, I think it's time. Like, you need to realize that you have a culture outside of this. And it was also just a lot more accessible at that time. So, yeah, that's when I started. And so I was kind of a newbie at the time, but I think the community welcomed me really well, and I got involved in like choir and stuff like that. And I had really, really great mentors and role models that were older than me. So it was super nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely want to jump into that a little bit more of just like the day to day of what it was like for you guys growing up. Lennox, I'm curious. So you said you like, I guess, jumped in. Did you say that you'd moved from somewhere to
yeah, I
Canada, or
moved from
like?
India, Kerala, in grade
Okay,
4. Yeah.
okay. So I wanted to ask, what was it like now to jump from? Because obviously, I like from Kerala to Canada. Like, there's obviously cultural shifts in general, but then within the Sierra Malabar community specifically, did you notice anything where you're like, oh, that's we didn't do that in Kerala. This is kind of new to Canada, like very unique to Canada.
No, not really. I guess I felt more home when I went to the Sri Lanka church because it's the exact same thing. Like in India, you go there, you see everyone, you talk with your friends, and it's like the exact same community over here. It's just that most people spoke in English, and at the time, I thought everyone was full of Jada at the time. Oh my god, who does he think he is? He's speaking English, huh? He can't speak in Malayalam. That was my thinking way back then. So I don't know. I just felt home whenever I went to church. Everyone's very welcoming. Everyone's making fun of you. It's a community, right? I was always happy to go to that church. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, yeah. So you didn't notice anything. I guess I'm seeing it from my perspective because I feel like when I go to Kerala, there are obviously like noticeable differences. I mean, now that I think about it, language is probably the biggest one. But you're saying, wow, like for you, it felt very much like a homecoming. Like this
Yeah.
is a familiar place for you. Um, yeah, that, like like throwback, like took you back. Yeah, to where you were growing up. Yeah. Okay, that's so cool. That's such a unique perspective because I feel like everyone always comes in with like the differences, like they immediately notice the things that are a little off, right? Like from where they grew up, or even for me, like between Syro Malabar churches in the US, I feel like I just pick up on that side of it a little bit more. um but I think, yeah, the familiarity is really nice too. And were you also involved in things, Lennox, like when you started attending the church there?
Honestly, no, no, I wasn't active at all. We would just go for Sunday mass and then go right back home. I was never in altar serving or choir or anything. I was just a shy kid.
Oh, all right, we're gonna jump into how you got involved into youth ministry then. Like that's coming up. But Meghana, jumping back to you. So you jumped into choir as you started getting more involved. Choir, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And generally just like youth.
okay. What was it like for you then to transition from like the Latin rite to now going to the Syro Malabar rite? That was my experience growing up too. I went to a Latin rite church and then Syro Malabar. But what was it like for you to make that switch, especially a little bit
Oh
older?
yeah. Oh yeah, it was super interesting because again, I have like really good memory from when I was a kid in India, and I think we went to a cathedral actually at the time, so it was like huge and ornate, and the everything was just so mystical, and I loved the imagery of everything. You know what
Mhm.
a kurbana looks like. It's beautiful, right? And then after just having years of going to the Latin Rite, which is not bad at all, it's great. Coming back and just kind of going back to the imagery, going back to the songs in the Holy Kurbana, it was super jarring, honestly. As a middle schooler, I was like, this is 2 hours long. Like, why is the mass so long? And it was jarring at the time at that age. And I think after a while I started getting used to it. I went to catechism class as well, and then like just made friends from there. And just started to realize, I was like, wow, I didn't know that I came from such a rich and diverse culture, and I didn't know that, I guess.
Mhm.
But eventually it was so great. I picked up the hymns pretty quickly, and it was genuinely like a beautiful experience. And honestly, like the use of incense and things like that in the kurbana, beautiful, just beautiful, inexplainable.
Mhm.
I'm like raving, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. That's okay. I remember I was having a conversation with some of my friends who are Latin Catholic, and they were talking about the level of incense that they use in all of their churches. And then I stepped in, and they knew I was Syro-Malabar Catholic. And the second I started talking, they're like, "No, no, no, you can't talk this. Like, this is you. You guys are at a whole other level. Like, my theory is unless it looks like the visibility in the area is about to go down because of the amount of incense, like you're not using enough. Like if you can still see the altar, you're not using enough. You gotta really kick it up a notch if you're going all out for a Corbana.
Yeah.
Um,
If you
this
can't
is
feel it in your lungs,
exactly, yeah. Were you aware? Maybe this is shifting more to like the larger scale. Like, were you aware that you were part of like an eparchy? Like, did that have any impact? Like, did you know that you were part of this like larger community in Canada? Um, and what about Lennox? Since I just bullied him about the Corbana question.
No, for me, no, not really, because you know how I said most of the parishes are on the east side, like Mississauga, Toronto,
Mhm.
all that, and then we, Alberta, we're more of on the west coast, west side, so we weren't that well involved with the eparchy stuff, so honestly, the only time that we would really hear about the eparchy would be when the Achin after the mass, when he reads the Aripu, when he reads the what's it called in English? The announcements. What do you call it? Aripu?
Yeah, the announcements.
The
Yeah.
announcements. Yeah, that's when you really just hear about the park if there's an important change or whatnot. But other than that, since we're there's so much distance from us and all the main parishes, we don't really hear much of the eparchy. I get or involve ourselves much in the eparchial stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so but you're saying Lennox on your end, like you weren't super aware of like the eparchy wasn't like a big front of mind thing. Like it wasn't like
Yeah,
you walked into the church and you're like, I am part of the Eparchy of
yeah,
Mississauga.
it wasn't. We never felt like that. Again, we were just so much distant, like physically distant
Hmm.
from like the east side. So I think that's a factor.
Yeah, this is something that I know we in the Eparchy of Chicago also deal with a lot. Meghana, is that something that as like a youth movement that you guys are constantly dealing with? Is just like distance being like a big thing?
yeah. So that's one of the biggest things, honestly, we're trying to do in our national team, um, because we have representatives from all across Canada. And just as like context, in terms of landmass, I hope this like fact is still true. It should be. We're the second largest country by landmass, right? First is Russia. So that's kind of a context to give you how far away we really are from each other.
Hmm.
And so the big challenge of our parky really is to make sure that we're all getting proper communication, and we're all actually coming together as youth, right? And so the way we did that, honestly, is by having national conferences. We had a Blaze last year, and honestly, it was like one of the most amazing experiences of my life, to be honest. And we had so much fun. But yeah, it's definitely something that we're still navigating because of that kind of western eastern region, I guess, barrier, you could say.
Does your youth movement also split like the areas by region? I know we do it in Chicago, but do you guys have like different regions and regional level teams and stuff too?
Oh yeah, we have like
Okay.
parish level teams. We're still kind of in the process of reorganizing things as well. But currently, yes, we have parish level teams, and now we have the national team as well. And when I say that, there's kind of the national students, meaning or national youth, meaning that we were kind of born or raised here for the most part. And then there's the international people, and they're international students or just international youth that came from other countries. It doesn't necessarily have to be India. And they came here, and so they'll have a very different experience compared to those who grew up here. So we have a separate team for them as well.
Okay. And you both are on like the more national side of things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So you're both working with people who are more born and brought up here, and that's your role, right? Yeah. And how did you get involved with like the national level of youth ministry? Like, because going from, you know, coming to the Syro-Malabar Church in seventh grade, jumping into choir and just general involvement, like what was the like how did you get to the level where you're now helping with like national level conferences and things like that?
Um, at least for me, it started because I started in a regional team. So I started in my parish, and a lot of our chechis and cheritans, they were the ones leading youth at the time, right? And so I think they kind of conditioned or mentored us in a way to eventually lead youth as well. And so one way or another, I ended up being general coordinator for our parish. And I think Lennox, you did you have a similar experience as well? Were you also a part of the parish team first, or?
Yeah, yeah. But like I didn't plan on becoming part of the national team at all. I got pushed into it kind of. Someone said my name and a few other people said my name. It's I'll tell you what happened to me. So I got out of high school and one of my friends in Alberta, he was the general coordinator of our parish team, and then he would call me every time he would have an event. He would call me and Lennox and then I would go with him for all these events. And my sister would be pushing me too to join the team. And then eventually last year, that's when I joined our core team of our local parish. And after that, last year is when we had that Ablaze conference that Meghna talked about earlier. So it was a conference where people from all over Canada came, connecting us, and that's when the new national team was officially created there. And there I think they were choosing people from each region to make the national team. And from Edmonton, someone said Lennox, and a couple more people said Lennox, and I just happened to get into the team that way. Yeah.
I feel like you're being very humble. I like it.
He's
I,
being way too humble. He emceed an entire event for, I think, the bonfire of the retreat. He was doing such a great job that literally people in Ontario were like, "Wow, like this guy needs to be on some team."
Hmm.
And I think when it came time to being like, because at the time there was no general coordinator, spiritual coordinator, it was just more like, hey, like we should have some sort of national representation, right? And so it wasn't even about, honestly, like region to region, and they were just like, wait, Lennox, like Lennox. And so I really do think that
that's too
he
much.
wasn't forced into this. I genuinely think he's a great candidate for being a part of our team.
I'm making up for bullying you earlier, Lennox. That's why I had to do it. No, that's so cool, and I love the yeah. I think every youth leader kind of has that little story of like, there's a little bit of force there, right? Like, there's a little bit of like, I
Nudging.
didn't exactly want to do this, but now I'm really glad I'm here.
Yeah.
And
It's
what's been your experience so
it's
far?
been so
Like
far
now that you're,
in the national team. I'd say it's been really good. Like I really get to connect with people from all over Canada, and we have similar parishes. We do like similar active whatever we do locally. I see that in a different parish, like 700, like 2,000 kilometers away, they're still doing the same thing. We're still part of the same community. Everything that we do, they do the exact. We're all part of the same community. That's how I feel. Like earlier you
mm,
mentioned, how did you feel when you knew that you were part of this bigger eparchy and all. You knew that you were part of something bigger. Like that's when I really realized, like being part of the national team. Oh my gosh, there's other youth movements exactly like ours. It's like the exact same thing. Whatever politics issues we have here, they also have it there. Whatever bickering or gossiping or whatever, whether it's positive or negatives, whatever's happening in our parish, that's also exact same thing is happening in another parish at the other end of Canada. And it's I forgot where I was going with this, but yeah, it's yeah.
No, I totally understand the sentiment. Megan, do you feel the same way too? Because I know you're both from like more the west side of Canada.
Yeah, yeah, and even if we are from the west side of Canada, I think it's honestly nice to, like when we went to a blaze. This was in Ontario, and
Hmm.
so we got to see all of the parishes over there, and I honestly started to realize I was like, wow, like there's a lot of us, because
Hmm.
just being in Calgary, you think you just have your parish, and then you see them around town wherever, and you're like, okay, that's it, right? But then you go to a much greater place and you're like, whoa, you guys are just like me, but just slightly different. And then you realize everyone has different upbringings and all that. But at the end of the day, like, I really love that we're centralized. I really like this idea of, having communities in different places because, again, if you end up moving, for example, there's somebody like waiting and welcoming you with
Hmm.
open arms. And I really like that.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I think I mentioned to you guys before we started the call. I moved basically across the country, and obviously lots of fears and nervousness about that. But the one thing that I never really doubted was like, oh, will I have friends? Because there were people who I served with and worked with who are also on this side of the country. There's a lot more on this side. We have the same issue as well, where a lot of our eparchy is very much concentrated on like the eastern half of the country, and the western half is definitely still like a little bit smaller. Um, but that's also a place where there's a lot of growth, so it's really cool. But yeah, no, very similar experience. I think I grew up in the same sense of like when I joined the national team, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on in this eparchy than just in San Francisco or just in California. Which is really, it's really beautiful and it's nice. Lennox, I love like when you said all the positives and negatives that are happening at your local reality are happening at every other church. 8,000% true.
Uh,
Like I think you realize that very quickly as you're serving in a role where you get to see other communities. Um,
mhm.
I want to ask before we go to like more of
Can I
the
ask
national
something?
level.
Can I ask something really quick? You said when? So when did you actually come back into the Syro-Malabar Church? I don't think I've heard that. I don't think you
Oh,
told me.
me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think I started going there when I was around, I want to say like between the ages of 6 and 8, because we were still like a mission community, and so I
Okay.
think we only had Kurbana once a month, and so we would go on and off, like if it was like if we were able to make it that particular month.
Did you guys have
But
catechism classes and all? Sunday school by any chance?
we did once we started being able to do it more consistently. I think we had small things like we'd have like youth sessions and things like that every now and then. But it was very much like, yeah, we would have a Kurbana late in the evening and then we were hosting it at a Latin church next to us. And then as we started growing and the community got way, way bigger, we ended up, yeah, like it became every Sunday and then we got our own church and then it started becoming English and Malayalam Kurbanas with catechism, all the other, everything just naturally kind of grows out of that, right? So,
Yeah, sure.
um, yeah, I guess I didn't really share much about that, but yeah, like around maybe like a little bit younger than when Meghana started going, but
Mm.
yeah, like also enough to remember my Latin right parish and everything too. To get into the structure, because we didn't really talk about that. So the team is actually just so there's spiritual coordinators, there's general coordinators. What are some of the other roles? Like, are there other responsibilities on the team as well?
We have a couple media coordinators.
Okay.
We also have a communication coordinator. We have an ex officio from like the last small national team, and then we have a couple executive members. They're like helping with every aspect of the core team, and then we have a couple youth animators and couple sisters and that are part of it. And Francis Etchen would be our Francesca and Gerlachyn, they're the heads, they're the directors of the national SMYM Canada.
Okay, nice. Wow, that's a really robust team. You guys got sisters on your team too.
Yeah, I know,
We need to
right?
get some for our
I
national
think
team.
I think we have like 7 sisters in Canada total.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. That's awesome. They're always like I feel like anytime you get sisters involved, it's like, okay, now this thing is pretty much guaranteed not to fail. So like just yeah, you're never wrong to bring a sister onto your team.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's like the structure of your team. And you said that you had like an international side and like a national side.
Mhm.
Um, could you share a little bit? I don't know if you know the history behind it, definitely share that. But like, where do you like where did you find the need for that? Because I imagine, did you come into it with like we need these two different teams, or was it something that naturally developed?
I think it depends from parish to parish because certain parishes have um, a lot more maybe youth that were raised here in Canada. And then other parishes have a great influx of international youth as well. And so sometimes it really just goes down to okay, do we want to make this one team? Is everybody kind of on the same page on what they want to do and how they want to, lead in youth? Then they're usually going to be one team. Actually, we're not going to have that separation, but
Hmm.
depending on the parish, sometimes it's necessary for us to have two separate teams because oftentimes, especially with I think the international youth, it's it's a very different experience, right? Living on your own, maybe just having a different upbringing. And so all of that means that they go through different struggles, different experiences, different things that they can relate to. So for them, I think oftentimes it is nicer to have an international team, but this depends on the parish. And so for that sake, that's why we have our national team kind of separated from national and international. I think it's kind of like complicated because I keep using national a lot, but SMYM
Hmm.
Canada right now is split into international and national youth. But at the end of the day, we're both on the national level in terms of SMYM Canada.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes a yeah, that actually clears it up a little bit because I was thinking that it was like two separate like entities, completely different. But yeah, it's all united under SMYM Canada, just serving different like community needs, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about like if you know as much about the international side, like what are some of those like what are some of the different like what do the activities look like what does the outreach look like, only because we don't have that in Chicago, and I just think it's really interesting because we've also seen like there's a big influx of people coming in from abroad who are young people who also need ministry, but it might look a little different just in terms like what they grew up with and what we grew up with. Yeah, what does that look like?
The activities that we do for the most part are around the same, right? It's more so again like how we serve the community. So, for example, especially when international students, and I'm just talking about student level because that's like the vast majority of people who move. It's usually just for university purposes and things like that, right? Or for work. Um,
Mhm.
and so a lot of students come here and they have a hard time integrating with the youth here because maybe in some parishes, the majority of them don't really know how to speak Malayalam fluently, right? And so then there's this clash because their preferred language would be Malayalam all the way. And so now you kind of are like maybe dealing with intimidation. Again, like I have really close friends of mine who are international students. And I think that's kind of something that they've told me is that, oh, I feel kind of intimidated. But again, that's just dependent on the person, right? In some parishes, people kind of go in and they're like, wait, again, this just feels like home, right? And they're completely good. And so basically, the mentorship I think they would do on their end would be to help newcomers that come in, to help young people that come in, and help them with genuinely just integrating themselves into the community by whatever means necessary. So, for
Mhm.
example, let's say they're like, you know what, I'm actually thinking of moving closer to university, for example, right? They have now connections within the community that'll help them. Another thing would honestly just be like language as well. If English is super comfortable for somebody who is born and raised here, then that's just something that we'd quickly use in conversation and stuff like that. Whereas I think they're like they might be more comfortable using Malayalam, for example, and just that feeling of community is a bit more. I'd say I'd say more like close, I guess. I don't know. I think they just there's going to be more of that preference there, but again, it depends on the parish. Like every person is different. Every person that comes to Canada is going to be different. So I think we literally have people on our team that maybe, again, for example, I'm an immigrant. Like I moved here even though I was quite young. I moved here and I wasn't born here, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm still involved in the national team. And then, for example, there are people who move here from like Qatar, for example, or different parts of the Middle East and things like that, Dubai. And they have a very different experience because, again, they went to international school, for example, or they
Mhm.
just were raised around different people who are multicultural. And so they come here and they're like, wait, I don't have that need, or I don't feel any weight towards one side or the other. And so they're involved in genuinely everything. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I think that was a bit of a long winded explanation, but
Thank you, Magna. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that was really helpful to get a sense because yeah, like in my head maybe I heard it as like two different teams doing their own thing, but I think you're very clearly saying, yeah, no, it's all going towards the same goal, building one community, making sure everyone's united in their faith and in their own local parish realities as well. I think that's really cool. Like I think that's something that is like very much a unique challenge that you guys are dealing with in a really awesome way. I'm praying that goes really well. I think that's really awesome. Um, on the more on like the stuff that you guys are doing on the national team side, what are some of the things that you guys have in the works? Like what are the things that you're trying to do for the eparchy as much as you can divulge, no confidential stuff, but as much as you can divulge.
some of the programs that we're kind of starting to initiate is more mentorship and leadership based programs, because we really want to bring up the youth all across Canada. And so we want to make this more of a either a conference or a type of program where people all across Canada come together, and some particular priests will come in and help us kind of on youth formation, right? So, what does it look like to be together as a community? What does it look like to be a leader in your community? And how can you serve, right? A lot of people, for example, think that, like even for example, like Lennox mentioned that he was shy, right? But being shy doesn't mean that you can't be a leader or you cannot contribute to your parish, right? There's so many skills and talents and abilities that I see within our my own parish, honestly, and even in the national team, where I'm so inspired. So you can just have like any personality, honestly, and you can come in and you can serve. And so that's kind of what we're focusing on. That's one of the things, honestly. We're quite ambitious, and I pray that they all come to fruition soon. But Lennox,
Mhm.
do you want to talk about some of the other things?
Sure. Another thing that the national team, like, that keeps encouraging us to do would be have to have inter-church events or inter-parish events. Like we were even planning, like it could be retreats. Fun fact for you: me and Magna, we actually have a bit of a rivalry going on. The last 2 years, so last two summers, we would have our local SMYMs compete in a soccer match. So it would be
Mhm.
either us driving 300 kilometers to them, or they would. Last year they came to us. The year before that we drove to them. So that really brings in more fellowship, more bonding, more unity, and that's one of the things that I think we would want to focus on, like having more things like that that really connects multiple parishes together instead of just seeing something online or hearing something. That's
Yeah.
and we did lose, by the way, the last soccer match, but the first one we won.
So it's what I'm hearing is this year is a tiebreaker round
This
for you
this year
guys.
we don't know. We don't know what'll happen, but we'll see.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. Is yeah, I mean everything from retreats and spirituality to sports and some of the more communal like activities are really important too.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things you have in the works.
Yeah. Even
Do you guys want?
sorry. I'll really quickly mention also World Youth Day. 4 years ago, a couple of us, there was only less than a handful of people that went as a part of SMYM Canada. I know there was tons of people from the US that went for World Youth Day. George, did you go for World Youth Day?
I was just about to say, were you guys with the SMYM group?
No, I wasn't there. We weren't there, but I think one of my friends spoke to you, George. It's
Yes, yeah, that's how we got connected. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so this year we would like to have a really big representation from each parish in Canada go to this big event. So we're looking at preliminary work still
Mhm.
happening. We're just trying to figure out, oh, how are we going to fundraise? How many people will how many people can go to this, how many people would be willing to go. We would like to have a really big representation from Canada this time, so we're planning on the group this time. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for Seoul. I can't believe it's a year away now, almost. A little over a
Yeah,
year away.
over a year. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna be so fun. No, Lisbon was fun. You guys should have come. It would have been such a
yeah.
great
I
time.
really missed
Um,
out. I really missed out.
yeah, I mean, it's honestly one of the most chaotic things I've ever been to, but in like the best possible way. Um, yeah, I mean, it's almost just because we were talking about it earlier, you know, that feeling that you felt of like, oh, the whole like eparchy, like realizing that there's that.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but like just throw in like a couple million more people. Yeah, it's honestly such a beautiful experience. Like you do very much see the universal young church, which is that was even wilder. It's like this isn't even all the Catholics. Like there's so many more. Yeah, it's a great experience. Like I will rant about this for hours, but that's not what this is about. Yeah, all this to say, if you're watching this, come to World Youth Day. It'll be a great experience. And if you're in Canada, go with SMYM Canada or any Canada group. Just go. Um, yeah, no, that's incredible, and yeah, I pray that really works out for you guys. It'll be really incredible to see all there. Hopefully, I can go as well. So okay, so inter parish things, World Youth Day. You mentioned a blaze. Can you share a little bit more about that? Like, is that a national level conference retreat? What was that exactly?
It was a
Yeah.
national. Yeah, sorry, Magna, go ahead. I think you.
No, Lennox, you go ahead.
Yeah, nothing. It was just a simple conference. So in 2022, oh, I don't know if you were a part of this. In 2022, we had another conference called Connect that happened in Toronto, and I believe folks from the US were there too. It was half US and half Canada. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I wasn't there, but I know a good amount of my friends did go up for that.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think that was our first actual inter-province, like a national conference, and well, technically it was an international conference, I guess. But
Mhm.
and then the second one we had last year in 2025, which was a blaze. We would have like local parishes, and in our own local parishes. In 2023, for example, we had something called Recharge. We had folks from Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan. We would have those local retreats with a few regions surrounding it. But in national conference, we've only had two. The second one was a blaze that happened last year. We had people from all over Canada, all the way from Vancouver, BC, Alberta, Oshawa, Ottawa, Mississauga, Toronto, everywhere.
Mhm. And yeah, and so it was just is that it was just a chance for all the young people to gather together, right?
Yeah,
So very much, talks, dances, competition, performances, all of
exactly.
that.
Yeah,
Love
exactly.
it. Yep. Always the funnest parts. Yeah. Um, yeah. As we're filming this right now, I think our convention for our eparchy is coming up, and that's yeah, basically a youth conference, but for everyone is the best. Like that's from my perspective of how I see it. Yeah, I love those things. It's just so great to see everyone, and yeah, like we were talking about earlier, you get to see the whole eparchy come together. Were you guys involved in the planning or like in the involved in any part of that, or
I
were you
wasn't.
like what was your experience
I'm
there?
not sure if Meghna was.
Yeah. So what they tried to essentially do was grab a lot of the general coordinators across parishes in Canada to help if they wanted to. And so towards the end of the planning stages, I was asked to help out a little bit more with a blaze. So I helped out mainly. Actually, I think me and we actually have our ex officio right now in our team, Juno. I got to know her a lot during that time, and we helped plan activities. Maybe I think figuring out like who our MCs would be, what that would look like. Day to day, day one, day two, day three, what's our schedule going to be
Hmm.
like? Is this going to be too much for them? Because we had some early mornings. And then we ended off quite late at night. And I was like, are you sure this is going to work? And then when we did it, nobody was tired. Like,
Yep.
genuinely, everything felt so invigorating that the time flew by, honestly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was involved a little bit with planning, and I think it was super fun. We honestly I got to know a lot of the people from Ontario mainly, and it was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know we're coming up on like almost an hour now of talking, which is cool. But I did want to ask, like, so, you talked a lot about like just some of the stuff that you've done so far, what the things that you guys are planning, and it's like in process. What would you say are like behind all of this? Like, what are some of the big challenges that you're trying to overcome that you see for the young people in the eparchy? We'll go Lennox and then Meghana for this one.
Sure. I think first of all, distance is a big issue. Whenever we're trying to just on the surface issues, I think distance would be a big challenge. Whenever we're trying to organize a national conference or just have some event happening at a national level, it's always hard because Canada is so big. Everyone is spread out so much. It would cost a lot of money to just fly
Hmm.
out to this event. So I think that's one of the challenges we really deal with every time we plan, even just plan an event. It's like we're thinking, okay, how many people will even come to this? How many people would be even willing to, spend time off from work and actually fly out to this place? And I feel like that's one of the challenges that we always have to take into. That's like one of the first challenges we always take into consideration. Okay, well, if we put it during this time, okay, well, they don't have school, but will they really take the flight and fly all the way over here? That's one of the challenges that we're still dealing with.
Hmm. Do you see any way like that could ever be overcome? Because it's just geography, right? Like it's just physics at that point.
Yeah.
Um, like what are some like have you noticed any good ways to try to fix that or alleviate that?
That's why we have these local. That's why we have these regional conferences. For example, in 2023, we had this conference called Recharge that happened in Edmonton. That would be so we invited all the folks from the west side. So we had people
Hmm.
coming from Saskatoon and even Calgary, and that was fun. So we kind of ignored. I don't want to say ignored, but we kind of what's a
You
better
didn't market as much to that
yeah,
the
yeah, we
eastern
didn't,
half of
yeah,
the country, right?
marketed much to the people from the East Coast. So I think that would be a better way for us to still connect, but not worry about transportation as much. Would be have like regional conferences. It was like a Western region conference, Western Canada conference in 2023. I think having more of those within Canada would be something that we could look into. Yeah.
Yeah. Megan, what would you say is not any other big challenges, or would you also agree that distance is the big one?
No, I mean, distance is definitely a big one. We've tried to overcome that just by using social media a lot, using just communication via digital means. But yeah, that's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to continue to navigate. Another thing that we've kind of tried to realize is that, every parish is going to be different. We're going to have a different population of youth, if that makes sense, in different parishes. For example, certain parishes might have a lot of teenagers, right? And then other parishes might have a lot of people that are in their late 20s or mid 20s. And so, kind of navigating what SMYM would look in each parish would be a little bit different. And so, in that case, it's more about, to what extent can we make this as uniform as possible across parishes, but then to what extent can we give them their necessary freedom, but also just kind of creativity to navigate exactly what that looks like in every single parish? Because SMYM is not going to look absolutely identical all across Canada. That's virtually impossible. And so it's really nice to see the different ways that every parish has been able to integrate all the youth. But yeah, that I think that's kind of a challenge we're going to have to navigate as an eparchy together.
Nice. Yeah. On the opposite end of that question, what would you say is like the biggest, like, particular blessing or like particular skill or whatever it is, that you see from the young people in your eparchy?
I think I'd say having these two conferences early, like Connect and Blaze, I think that really gave a good sense of fellowship and community. That the people that did come to those ended up going back and telling their friends about it. So everyone, they're wanting to have more of that happen. So I guess that's a good thing that came out of it. Like everyone wants to be a part of this now. Whatever's happening with SMYM, oh, I would like to be a part of this. This was so much fun last year. I'm gonna bring in my friends too. I think we're headed in that direction. I can see it locally with my own parish too. I think the last 2 years we haven't had much of a interaction from the youth that graduated out of high school, and then now we see those folks coming right back. Like they heard really good things about SMYM, or they see us on social media, for example, or they really hear about this fellowship, this unity that's in SMYM, and they may think, oh, you know what, that sounds cool. Maybe I'll come to one of these events, and I think that's a really good blessing, from what I think. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have to agree with Lennox on that, honestly. I think that is the biggest thing, right? Especially when, just being Indian Catholic, you might have problems just in your own communities, like where you live or whatever, not having that interaction with people from your own culture, your own background. And then having your friends be like, hey, you should come to these Syro events. Honestly, they're really great. Suddenly we have a much greater community, and I feel like people start feeling like they can bond, you know what I mean, and
Mhm.
have these really niche experiences, what we think is niche but is super common actually, amongst all of us. So I think it's great, it's been great.
Yeah, and I want to touch on this a little bit earlier, but is the youth community like, is it as a whole, like, because I think, in some of our earlier conversations we were preparing for this, you mentioned like the impact of like Catholic schools and like Catholic education and just like the general disposition of young people. It sounds like they're very open to unity, which I think is such a beautiful thing. Like, I really like that as like sort of the blessing that you identified. Um, but going back to that challenges a little bit, like, do you think that there are any things that you're going to deal with in terms of like getting to unity besides distance?
I think one of the biggest things actually would be kind of, I guess, gathering the flock in a sense, in that a lot of young people nowadays will end up going to Latin rite parishes, and again, that's completely, their own choice. There's nothing wrong with that, and there might be obviously different reasons as to why that happens. But oftentimes, I think the biggest thing as an eparchy that we'd like to do is kind of call them back in certain ways, and at least try to integrate all of the youth in the parishes across Canada as much as possible. And so, especially because, again, just for context, in Canada, we have publicly funded Catholic schools. Again, I'm not sure if this is uniform across provinces, but at least in Alberta it is. And I think, Lennox, did you know in other provinces is it the same, or?
Not
Okay.
sure. I'm not too sure. Sorry.
Okay, but yeah, I think for the most part, we have that kind of, I guess, freedom of religion in a certain sense, in that we are able to have publicly funded Catholic schools. So, what that means is a lot of us went to Catholic school. And the thing with that is the liturgies and things and that we attended were all in the Latin rite, right? And
Mhm.
so oftentimes it's very easy to kind of get into the flow of that and go, you know what, like I've been attending this and learning all about this at school for a long time. Let me just go to those masses instead. And so It really is about reminding them that, hey, like, we're Eastern Catholic, right? We're Syro-Malabar Catholic. There is emphasis on that Syro-Malabar
Hmm.
aspect, and in our various traditions and our culture, and the fact that our priests wear very different vestments compared to the different rites of the Catholic Church, right? Having that education, having that knowledge, knowing that, hey, I'm actually Eastern Catholic, I come from a different rite, is, I think, something that we want to keep pushing forward to. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and um, as like a final formal question, just to go along with that, let's say it's this is gonna be a big picture question. Let's say it's 10 years in the future, right? You guys are, maybe retired from SMYM formally. What would you want the Eparchy's youth movement to look like? Like, where would you want it to be? Like the future direction of the youth movement?
There's certain parishes, or not even parishes, they're mission centers or certain groups of Sierra Malabar people in parts of like Manitoba, Saskatchewan, even like very small towns as well. They don't have official parishes. I think in Manitoba and Saskatchewan they do. Okay, but I'm saying in general, in smaller towns and certain provinces, you'll see less concentration of Syro people. So the thing with that is that they often don't have access to the Holy Kurbana all the time, and priests have to kind of move from their parish over there and maybe have masses once a month, however that works. And so, in the next 10 years, I really want the youth in those towns, in those provinces, to know that they have a community, and they don't just have a community there. And if they don't have a lot of friends that are Syro over there, there's going to be a community for you across this nation. And just having that awareness, honestly, is the biggest thing, because it's very easy to feel alone or kind of like a minority. But I really hope that in the next 10 years, we get to a point where everyone knows about the Eparchy of Mississauga. Everyone knows about SMYM Canada, because I want them to realize that, we're genuinely here for you and for whatever struggles that you're going through, right? One of the biggest things, honestly, that I wanted to focus on in the upcoming years was having just general wellness support. So that could include mental health. That could include mentorship, counseling, if it's via priests or even just by much older youth that have been in the church for a while. In terms of spiritual difficulties, in terms of just general struggles that they're going through, especially in that time of teenage to later adolescence. I think having that fellowship, having that mentorship is super important.
If I
Awesome.
may really quickly add to that, I would also want to see maybe some vocations, especially priesthood, spring out of SMYM in the next 10 years. That'd be super awesome to see. I think right now we only have one, just one priest who was raised in Canada. His name is Father Francis. He's currently the one of the directors of SMYM, National SMYM team, and it'd be super awesome to see is to have more vocations come from SMYM. That'd be something cool to see. We do have more seminarians even in Alberta and in Mississauga and all, but they all joined the Latin rite, which we're
Mhm.
missing out on them. So we would it would be super awesome to see people come into the Syro Malabar, right? Like recognize the richness of our traditions and be involved in SMYM, and then hopefully God calls them, some of them, into priesthood, and they answer the call. It'd be super awesome, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have a couple of priests and seminarians as well, and it's always a little mini day of celebration every time we hear one of them get ordained. Again, as of filming this, I think there's like two or three ordinations coming
Oh
up in the
wow.
next couple of months, which is really
Wow.
exciting. It's I think it's technically a little bit like it's just coincidental that they're all almost back to back, like within a couple months. But yeah, it's so exciting, and yeah, like even your Urchin being from like born and raised in Canada, it does make a difference, right? Like definitely having someone who maybe understands the local and the Sierra Malabar culture side of it too is really good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Yeah, I mean, we're always praying for more vocations, so that's good. So that was our episode. Thank you so much, Lennox and Meghna, for taking the time to share about your eparchy, a little bit about yourselves as well. Everyone watching, obviously, keep the Eparchy of Mississauga in your prayers. If you're ever up in Canada, get involved, come out to their events, support them. They're doing some awesome work, and yeah, we'll be keeping you in prayer. Please keep us in your prayers as well. But yeah, Lennox, Meghna, thank you so much.